Just as the Palestinians began to settle in their homeland, Israel issued orders for its army to enable voluntary departure for Gaza residents. Israel Defense Minister Israel Katz said Gazans should have the freedom of movement and migration, and countries critical of Israel's war with Hamas were obligated to take them in. This is in line with US President Donald Trump's proposal for the US to take over the territory and resettle its 2.1 million Palestinians elsewhere. Trump has also said that Gaza would be turned over to the US by Israel at the conclusion of fighting. However, Hamas has accused Katz of trying to cover up for a state that has failed to achieve any of its objectives in the war on Gaza, and said Palestinians would refuse to leave. For this further discussion on this, we are joined by Rohan Gunaratne, international affairs expert, live from Singapore, and Yeshaya Rosenman, Israeli journalist located in Jerusalem. Yeshaya, I wanted to come into you for this first question. What are the potential humanitarian implications of Israel's defense minister ordering the army to prepare a plan for the voluntary departure of Gaza residents?
At this point, I'm not really sure what Defense Minister Israel Katz has actually done beyond demand, make a public statement that the army should prepare a contingency plan. On the ground, nothing has changed. The Gazans are not free to leave because there is a border between Gaza and Egypt is not allowing them in. So even if Israel would tomorrow decree that every Gazan who wants to leave can leave, and I think it's safe to say that a majority of Gazans would want to leave voluntarily, they cannot cross over the border into Egypt. I would very much think that the Egyptian army would open fire on them and stop them and all that. So it's unclear to me how this will actually work in practice. At this point, all I see is a statement is a public statement from Israel Katz, who also issued some statements against the European governments, saying that we have seen them supporting the Palestinians. We would want the governments of Norway and Ireland and Spain to take in Palestinians. So at this point, I see PR. The army, I'm sure, is working on plans, on contingency plans, but on the ground, I don't think anything has changed, and it's unclear to me how this will proceed.
Rohan Gunaratne, I want to come to you on this next one. How have various international actors, including neighbouring Arab countries and global powers, responded to proposals for displacement of Palestinians from Gaza?
President Trump's request to Jordan and Egypt has been rejected by the foreign ministers and the heads of government, heads of state of both these countries. But President Trump is confident that after he meets with King Abdullah of Jordan next week, and also subsequently his engagement with Egypt, that there will be some progress. On the contrary, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, has very clearly said that they are all opposed to the idea of Trump's plan. But certainly there will be discussions, there will be negotiations in the coming weeks and coming months, because Trump himself is very serious that the Gazans should move out of Gaza. So ultimately what will happen is there will be a series of negotiations. This is a lot of theatrics to put Hamas under pressure so that the Hamas will surrender, because Israel will not agree to maintain a status quo of a ceasefire until Hamas exists. The Israeli strategic calculus is that Hamas should be dismantled, that Hamas cannot exist in Gaza, and for Israel to remain in peace, Hamas must disarm.
Yeshaya, how might this plan, Trump's plan, affect the demographic and political landscape of the Gaza Strip?
In theory, if any Gazan who wanted to leave was able to leave, I think it's safe to say that the vast majority would want to leave. There are slightly over 2.2 billion Palestinians in Gaza. The majority would leave. In essence, it would end Hamas's rule by simply emptying the population, and it wouldn't have who to rule over anymore. What would be done with it subsequently, I don't think has been stated publicly by anyone. It could possibly also alter the greater geopolitics of the region. by simply subtracting 2.2 Palestinians, or let's say half of that, 1 million Palestinians from the territories, which would allow Israel greater leverage in annexing Judea and Samaria, the West Bank. So there are, and beyond that, it could also possibly, if these Palestinians were to go to Jordan or to other countries, they could possibly, be a source of destabilizing these countries. Jordan already has a large Palestinian majority that is difficult to manage, and in other countries a similar situation could unfold. So there are implications for the region in geopolitics and security, and it's unclear. Nobody is actually stating publicly how this would work.
Rohan Gunaratne, I want to move on now to Egypt's response to President Trump's proposal to relocate Palestinians from Gaza. What are the main concerns regarding, what would Egypt's main concerns be for the treatment of Palestinians in this situation here?
Egypt also wants a two-state solution created, but Egypt is dependent a lot on American assistance. If Trump says, I'm going to stop the US assistance to Egypt, it is very likely that Egypt will agree to a compromised solution. Both Jordan and Egypt is dependent on American goodwill, American assistance. So there will come a point where the Palestinian in Gaza will start to move out of that territory. But certainly the Arab leaders, the Muslim leaders are opposed to this. They want Gazans to remain so that a Palestinian state will eventually be created. Once the Palestinians leave Gaza, the concept of a two-state solution will diminish. And also the right-wing groups in Israel, they want to create a greater Israel. And so there is a big dispute between the Arab world, the Muslim world, and Israel. And what is important today is for there to be a discussion, dialogue, and eventually a settlement to restore peace and stability in the Middle East.
Rohan Gunaratne and Yeshaya Rosenman, thank you very much for joining us on this story.